Hi everyone, it's Sophia Jessica Linville, and today I will be talking about nonverbal communication. So let's get into it. Nonverbal communication is transmitted through our five senses, and unlike verbal communication, it creates meaning without using words. The main principles of nonverbal communication can be simplified into these points. 1. Nonverbals portray more interpersonal messages compared to verbal communication. 2. Nonverbals are more integrated into our consciousness than verbal communication, making it more difficult to control or fake. 3. Nonverbals are more open to a large number of interpretations. And 4. Finally, nonverbals are more credible compared to verbal communication. We usually think of verbal and nonverbals as cohesive. However, it is important to note the different functions between the two as well. Like, there are no specific rules to follow in nonverbal communication compared to the verbal communication. In verbal communication, there's rules like grammar or proper punctuation. However, there's nothing like that for nonverbals. 2, depending on how it is used, nonverbal communication can reinforce, substitute, complement, or contradict verbal communication. And it can also influence others through deception if paired with verbal communication well. It can be used to assert dominance or easily persuade others to comply. Cues such as pitch, hand gestures, or shift in eye contact are examples of how nonverbal communication help manage conversation flow. So raising pitch for questions, falling pitch for end of sentences, or simply looking at the next speaker in your group helps indicate who's going to speak next, so there are no overlaps or interruptions during interactions. Finally, learning to analyze and understand nonverbal communication is very important because it can influence our relationships in a good or bad way. For example, we can look for tie signals or immediacy behaviors during interactions. Tie signs are signals that tell of a connection or a sense of intimacy through nonverbal cues. And immediacy behaviors are both verbal and nonverbal actions that shorten the psychological or physical distance between people, such as nodding or smiling. We can learn more in depth about these mechanics in the next segment. One type of nonverbals we can look at are vocalics, which is the study of paralanguage or vocal aspects of nonverbal communication. This includes techniques such as pitch, volume, tone, voice quality, and speaking rate. There are other types of including the study of different movement or kinesics that are incorporated in how we perform nonverbal behaviors. This includes multiple components like gestures, head movement, eye contact, and facial expressions. Haptics are another type, and it's communication by touch that shows meaning during interactions. There are numerous types of touch, including love intimacy, functional professional, social polite, and friendship warmth. We can also observe the different relationships between aspects that impact our interactions using nonverbal behaviors. Proxemics is the observation of space and distance between people. For Americans, there are generally 4 zones that convey our personal space relationship. Public zone is 12 plus feet away, social zone is 4 to 12 feet away, personal zone is 1.5 to 4 feet away, and intimate zone is body contact to 1.5 feet away. Chronemics is the relationship between time and communication. The categories of time include biological, personal, physical, or cultural time. This studies the difference between past and future-oriented people and in both monochronic or polychronic time. And finally, personal presentation and environment consist of physical attributes and the objects we are surrounded by. Both allow for others to figure out how environment impacts our communication. For our last segment, I wanted to talk about nonverbal communication in different contexts. In a professional context, nonverbal communication, including decoding and encoding skills, help leaders and directors better their job. Showing empathy when needed for employees under stress, using decoding skills to spot the problem, and encoding skills to portray nonverbal, empathetic messages. Regarding interpersonal relationship contexts, people who are better at encoding nonverbal messages typically have advantages regarding their interpersonal relationships. The establishment of these interpersonal relationships is a central function of nonverbal communication. By using nonverbal communication, it helps maintain good impressions and self-disclosure, as well as it helps give effective expressions that present emotional support for both parties. Overall, because there's such a vast variety of different nonverbal signals among cultures, including proxemics and haptics, it is more efficient to learn the general norms of these signals and adapt when needed in order to become more flexible in knowledge and skill. But that is it for today's video, and thank you all for watching.